Welcome to the Market Rent Weekly Brief, your go-to source for the latest insights and updates in the real estate market. Each week, we'll bring you the most important news and trends to help you stay informed and make smart decisions. Let's dive into this week's episode.
You know, it's funny how the whole idea of what makes a great apartment has really changed, hasn't it? I mean, we all know that old saying, location, 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 rent.
Yeah.
And of course, price, getting the right price point. But these days, it feels like it's so much more than that.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. It's kind of like amenities have gone from being these little extras, nice to haves, to being absolutely essential. It's all about creating that whole living experience, right?
Exactly. So that's what we're going to be looking at in this deep dive. We've been going through a bunch of research, all sorts of information, and we're going to try and unpack some of the key insights. How did we even get to this point with amenities, and why are they so important, especially now?
Well, let's take a step back for a minute and think about the history of all this. Imagine, 100 years ago. Things we consider totally basic now, like having indoor plumbing or even electricity, those were considered like premium features.
I know, right? Can you imagine? It's wild.
Yeah.
But then as we moved into like the mid-20th century, you started to see more of those shared amenities pop up. So things like communal laundry rooms, dedicated parking, all of that becoming kind of expected.
Yeah. And then things really took off in the 60s and 70s. People had more money and developers wanted to make their properties stand out. That's when you started to see all those recreational amenities, pools, clubhouses, trying to offer lifestyle.
Definitely a move towards more of those cool extras. But then from the 80s to the early 2000s, things got even more complex, right? Like you started seeing pet accommodations, fitness centers, those business lounges, even electronic access.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, everything started moving online rent portals and all of that.
It's interesting how that kind of coincided with the rise of digital communities, isn't it? I mean, having online portals for rent and stuff really paved the way for all the connected living we have now.
Oh, and we can't forget about pets. People started really seeing them as part of the family, which is a big reason why pet-friendly amenities became so important. Yeah, totally. And then 2020 hits. Bam. The pandemic, talk about a game changer. Suddenly things that might have been considered, I don't know, maybe luxuries became essential, like super fast.
You're exactly right. High-speed internet, it went from being a nice thing to have to being as basic as water and electricity, especially with everybody working from home. And then you had touchless entry systems, air quality monitoring, private outdoor spaces, all those things. They weren't necessarily brand new, but the pandemic just made them so much more important, so much faster than anyone expected.
So here we are now in a totally different world.
Mm-hmm.
How would you describe today's amenity landscape? What's it all about?
Well, I think a good way to look at it is as this kind of like triad, three main things: technology, wellness, and building community. They all work together to create this like full experience for residents.
Okay, so let's start with tech. I mean, obviously technology is everywhere these days. It's a huge part of our lives.
Yeah.
And that's definitely true for how we live, right? In our homes, in our communities.
Absolutely. Smart locks, thermostats, all those systems that control access, they're almost expected now in any new development.
Yeah.
And they make things easier for residents, but they also benefit owners too, saving energy, increasing security.
It's not all about just convenience, though, is it? I know we've seen some information about smart leak detection systems. That seems like a win-win for both sides.
Right, exactly. Those systems can prevent a lot of water damage, which means lower costs and less waste, both good things for the environment and for everybody's bottom line. And there's also data that shows that apartments with those smart home features, they actually tend to rent for more.
Interesting. But with all this technology, do you think there's a risk of it getting too complicated? Like, what about people who aren't that tech savvy?
That's a really good point. The key is to make sure the tech is easy to use, no matter what your skill level is. It should be about making life better, not more stressful.
Okay, let's talk about wellness. It seems like what we consider wellness has really expanded. Like, it's not just about gyms anymore.
Yeah, for sure. It's much broader now. It's not just physical health, but also mental and emotional well-being. That's why you're seeing more biophilic design. It's all about bringing nature inside, rooftop gardens, lots of natural light, living walls even. It just creates a more calming and natural environment.
Yeah, those features are amazing. They really do make a difference. So what else is there in terms of wellness?
Well, think about fitness centers. They're getting way more advanced. Yoga studios, dedicated spaces for recovery, like with saunas or cold plunges. And, since the pandemic, there's this big emphasis on clean air, good ventilation, and touchless technology, all about promoting health and safety.
I even saw something about digital detox zones. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah, right. Basically, quiet spaces where you can just unplug and unwind, meditate, whatever you need. Because in this day and age, it's so important to be able to disconnect from all the screens and technology sometimes. And you know what? All those wellness features, they actually pay off. Studies show that people stay in their apartments longer and they're just happier overall, which is good for the owners too, obviously.
Makes sense. So the last piece of the puzzle here is community.
Yeah.
It seems a little less tangible, right, than the tech and wellness stuff.
You're right, it can be, but it's so important. People need connection. It's just part of being human. So you need to have those spaces where people can gather, lounges, rooftop decks, places where you can have events.
So it's not just about having the space.
Yeah.
It's about what happens in the space, right?
Exactly. You got to have activities, events that bring people together,
Yeah.
cooking classes, movie nights, pet-related events, things like that. It helps create a sense of community.
I've definitely heard that those resident events can be really successful. What about some of the more unique amenities? Do those play a role in community building too?
Absolutely. Think about dog parks or those bike repair stations. They're practical, sure, but they also bring people with shared interests together. And there's research showing that when residents feel connected, they're way more likely to renew their leases. It's all about finding that balance between encouraging interaction and respecting people's need for privacy.
That makes sense. So with all these different amenities, it seems pretty obvious that there's no one-size-fits-all solution, right? What are some of the ways that preferences differ?
Well, it really depends on the type of property and who's living there,
Yeah.
the demographics. And we're seeing some really interesting things happening in different segments of the market.
Let's talk about build-to-rent communities. That seems to be a hot topic these days.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Build to rent, BFR for short, it's basically changing the game for single-family rentals. Instead of just having individual houses scattered around, they're creating these whole communities with shared amenities, almost like a horizontal apartment complex. Think walking trails, fitness centers, dog parks, the whole 9 yards.
So you get the privacy of your own house, but with all the perks of a community.
Yeah.
Cool. What about inside the houses themselves? Are there any special features you typically see in BFRs?
Yeah, they often have things that you'd normally associate with owning a home, like big kitchens, private yards, dedicated office space because people are staying there longer, and of course, lots of smart home tech, which can be customized.
So it's like the lines between renting and owning are getting blurrier. How are traditional apartments responding to all this? Are they changing too?
Oh, definitely. They have to adapt to stay competitive. So now you're seeing more work pods like little private offices because so many people work remotely. Enterprise-grade Wi-Fi is becoming standard, which is awesome. And they're creating more flexible spaces, community areas that can be used for different things. It's interesting to see how those lines are blurring between different types of properties as everyone tries to keep up with what renters want.
Yeah, it's a whole new world. So let's talk demographics. What are younger renters, like Gen Z and millennials, looking for in terms of amenities?
For them, it's all about connectivity and flexibility. They want seamless integration of technology, smart home tech, mobile apps for everything, paying rent, maintenance requests, you name it. And co-working spaces are a must-have. Plus, they absolutely need fast, reliable internet. It's non-negotiable. It's like a utility for them.
Got it. So for them, it's about a smooth digital experience.
Okay.
What about families? What are their priorities?
For families, functionality and safety are key. Things like in-unit laundry, tons of storage space, big closets, secure access, and child-friendly stuff like playgrounds and stroller storage. Basically, anything that makes their busy lives easier is a winner. For them, it's often less about those fancy lifestyle amenities and more about practical solutions.
Yeah, I can definitely see that being a huge plus for families. And what about senior living? You mentioned earlier that it's changing a lot too.
It is. Senior living is moving away from that kind of institutional feeling and more towards active, independent living, with a huge focus on wellness, of course. So you see safety features, but they're subtle. Things like wider doorways, no steps, motion sensor lights. And then there are all those amazing amenities. Fitness classes designed for seniors, healthy meal programs, social clubs, educational workshops, all sorts of things. The goal is to create a strong sense of community and keep people engaged and active.
It sounds like a much more vibrant and engaging environment than traditional senior living communities. So, given all these different needs and preferences, how can developers and operators create successful amenity packages? It can't just be about chasing the latest trends, right?
You're right. It takes a long-term strategy and the ability to adapt. You can't just jump on every fad that comes along.
So what are some key things to keep in mind when planning amenities?
One really important thing is to create spaces that can be used for multiple purposes, like a club room that doubles as a co-working space during the day and a lounge in the evening. That's much more valuable than a space that only serves one function. Same thing with outdoor areas. They should be designed to accommodate all kinds of activities, from working out to just relaxing and hanging out with friends.
So versatility is key. What else is important?
You need a good mix of universal amenities, things that appeal to everyone, and targeted amenities, things that are specific to your resident demographics. So things like package lockers, reliable internet, top-notch security, those are must-haves across the board. But then you can also tailor your amenities to your specific residents. Like if you have a lot of pet owners, maybe you have a pet spa. Or if your residents are really into cooking, you could have a culinary studio. And don't underestimate the power of experiences, things like fitness classes and interest-based programs. Those can really build community and set your property apart without having to spend a ton of money on infrastructure.
Yeah, that focus on experience is really interesting. And how can properties make sure their amenities stay relevant in the future, with the market constantly changing?
That's a great question. I think anticipating future trends is crucial. Sustainability is becoming a huge factor for renters. So things like EV charging stations, solar panels, water conservation systems, they're going to be as common as fitness centers before you know it. And we're seeing a shift towards more integrated technology platforms. So residents will be able to manage everything from their smart home devices to amenity bookings and maintenance requests all in one place, which is super convenient.
So it's a dynamic and evolving landscape. What do you think the next generation of amenities will look like?
I think in the future, it's not just going to be about how many amenities you have, but how relevant they are to people's lives and how well they're executed. We're going to see more emphasis on climate adaptive design, buildings that can respond to changing weather patterns. There's also a growing interest in neuroaesthetic spaces, environments that are designed to promote well-being through sensory experiences. And of course, sustainability and the integration of nature are going to be even more important.
Yeah. It sounds like our living spaces are going to be more in tune with our overall well-being, which is amazing.
Exactly. And the most successful property owners are going to be the ones who use data and get feedback from their residents to constantly improve their amenities and create those personalized experiences. It's all about understanding what people really want and need, not just guessing. That's how you build strong communities and keep residents happy.
So it's about going beyond just checking boxes. It's about creating a holistic living experience. Amenities are no longer just extras. They're an integral part of what makes a place feel like home. And that benefits everyone, residents and owners alike.
Absolutely. We've come a long way from just focusing on basic needs. Now it's all about lifestyle integration. And the key is to make smart decisions informed by data about what amenities to offer and how to create those thriving communities. It's that intersection of technology, wellness, and community that's really defining success in multifamily today.
So to all you developers, owners, and property managers out there, are you ready to take your properties to the next level? Think about how you can really understand your residents' need and create those amazing living experiences that will make them want to stay. It's time to go beyond just offering features and create truly livable, connected communities.
That's it for this week's edition of the Market Rent Weekly Brief. To access more insights and resources, visit marketrent.us. Thank you for listening. To learn more about how Clarendon can help you achieve your real estate goals, please visit us online. We appreciate your trust in us as your go-to source for market intelligence. Our goal is to equip you with the critical insights and data necessary to make informed decisions. Until next time, stay informed and stay ahead.